Before you start building serious automations in N10, there is one important thing you need to understand, that it's not about memorizing hundreds of nodes and their setups. It's about mastering a few powerful ones that control logic, flow, data, and integrations. Because most beginners try to learn everything, but professionals focus on the core nodes that actually run real systems. So in this video, we are going to walk through the most important N10 nodes, explaining that what each one does and when to use it, all these things in simple language with real world meanings. And for better understanding, I've also prepared a real workflow using these nodes, and I will be explaining nodes by breaking down that example step by step. So let's get started without wasting any time. So the first one are triggers. Triggers are the entry point of automation system, the moment when your workflow wakes up and starts working. Think of triggers like this, that they are the doorbell of your automation system. When someone presses the bell and the whole workflow inside wakes up and responds. Let's break this down simply. There are mainly three types of triggers: the manual triggers, the scheduled triggers, and the third one are event based triggers. So we will understand these one by one. So let's talk about manual triggers. Manual triggers are mainly used during the testing phase when you are building your workflows. You simply click on execute workflow and the workflow starts instantly. This node allows you to watch each node execute step by step and make your automation perfect while you are in testing phase. You just add this at the start and start creating your automation system, and whenever you will click on the execute workflow, your workflow will start running. As I already said, it is mainly used in testing phase. And the second one is time based or schedule triggered. These run on a set schedule, like after every minutes or day or weeks, just like cron jobs. You can come inside and choose the time whatever you want. And if I show you the example of schedule trigger in this automation system, which I have prepared for email reply automation, when an email comes in, it prepares a reply for that email. And I have used the schedule trigger for this automation, which is checking after every 1 minute. You can customize the time whatever you want, like I have said before: minutes, days, weeks. In this automation, it is checking after every 1 minute and is waiting for an email. When an email comes in, it categorizes that email and then it prepares a reply for that email. And the third one is event based triggers. These fire when something happens, like a new row in your Google Sheet added, a webhook request, a new lead in your Airtable CRM, and a mail in your Gmail. Beyond these actions, there is also a wide range of event triggers that you can use to automate your actions. You just come here and add another trigger and choose the action whatever you want. And if in this example, if I show you the example of event trigger, if I replace this schedule trigger with the Gmail trigger and add a trigger like on message received and I delete this, the workflow will now run automatically when a new Gmail will comes in. So these were the triggers. And now let's dive into the brain of automation, the logic nodes. The nodes that controls decisions, direction, and flow of automation. Because automation isn't just about moving data, it's about making intelligent decisions that when this or that should happen. So let's start here with if node, which asks one simple question, that is this condition true or false? And based on that condition, your workflow takes path and deliver right action to the right path. So inside here in if node, I have defined a condition that if the lead score is equal to 90, then the data will go into the Google Sheets, otherwise not. You define the conditions inside here and the if node execute that. For example, if I show you that in this workflow, I have defined a condition in if node that if the incoming email needs a reply, if the incoming email needs a reply, then it will go down to this side and will prepare a response here. And if it don't needs a reply, I mean if this is false, then it will just add the label and will go back. I mean that the workflow will stop. This value will come from behind the agent. The agent will decide that if it needs a reply or not. So if it is yes, then it will go down to this side, and if it's false, then it will go down to this side. So in short, the if node chooses the workflow path based on the defined condition instead of running the workflow linearly. And now let's move to the switch node, which is for taking multiple decisions at a time. So instead of yes or no, it routes the data into several paths based on the values and takes multiple decisions at a time. So if I go inside switch node, I have decided some rules that if the country is equal to USA, then go to team A, and if the country is equal to UK, then go to team B, and just like that, you can add multiple rules here, which will route the data into different paths. So in this automation, if I show you the example of switch node here, in which I have defined some rules that if the email category coming from behind is finance and legal, then go to Harry. If the category contains customer services, then go to customer services category. And if it's shipping and tracking, then go to the Emily. And just like you will see that it's routing the data into different paths. If it's Harry, then it's going to Harry. If it's customer service, then it's going to here in customer service. And if it's for Emily, then it's going to Emily. And you should think the switch node as a traffic system that is intelligently directing each piece of data to exactly where it belongs. And the next one is the merge node, which is also known as the unifier. The merge node acts like a kind of unifier that brings your automation paths back together after branching. So its role is to combine data coming from different paths like this, join results from parallel workflows, synchronize action before moving forward. So if the data is coming from team A, team B, and the other path, it will take all of this data and will result as a single output. So if I execute this, you can see that if there are 3 items, then the data is resulted as a one item. So it means that it has merged the data and has result as a single item. So this is the function of merge node. So the next one category is data processing and execution control. Basically, the nodes in this category focuses on shaping, transforming, filtering, and looping data as it moves through the automation and make sure that the data remains clean and consistent from start to finish. So the first one node we are going to discuss about is edit fields, which is also known as set field. It is the most widely used node in n8n for data processing. It allows us to rename fields, remove unnecessary data, create new values and format outputs. And we are going to understand these action by performing some data processing. So I have connected this HTTP node which have these items and multiple fields. So I will map some fields like title, category name, city, and phone. So from all of these fields, I am picking some fields. So it means that I am removing unnecessary data. So the next, I will rename this field to name and I will give a space to this. So I am trying to show you that I can rename the field to whatever I want. And I can also create a new field, and I am creating new field by the name of Sikor, and I will add this value to 60. So when I will execute this step, you will see that from all of these items, only that items have been come in the output which I have picked in the edit fields like name, category name, city and phone, and this is the field custom field that I have created. So we have renamed the fields, remove unnecessary data, create new values, and the next one is format output. Format output means that we can change the data type to whatever we want. For example, if it is a string, we can set it to string, and if there is a field like date, we can set that data type to date. So basically this is the working of edit field. And the next one is code node, which performs advanced calculation and implement custom rules and logics by defined coding. So if I go inside code node, there's an option of choosing the language, like you can choose JavaScript and Python and write the code and implement custom rules. So and you can also ask AI to create your code. For example, if I connect this edit field to this code node and ask the AI to create a code to separate my items and click on generate code. So it will create the code and click on the execute step. So now you can see that it has separated my items. Basically, when the logic gets too complex for if or switch node, the code node gives you raw JavaScript or Python power right inside your workflow to automate your actions, which can't be automated by any other nodes. So you can create the code and automate your actions. And now let's move to the filter node, which filters the data by removing unwanted or invalid records, keeps only high quality or relevant data, reduce errors and unnecessary processing. Basically, inside the filter node, we define conditions based on which conditions our data gets filtered. For example, if I connect this code node and I define a condition that if the category name belongs to doctor, then I want the record, otherwise not. So after defining, when I will click on the execute step, you will see that it has discarded the items. There is no one item in the kept because condition didn't met. And you can also add multiple conditions, like you can add if city is equal to New York, and you can change this to or and whatever you want. So this is the working of filter node. And the next node we are going to discuss about is loop node. In fact, the loop over item node process data one item at a time instead of all at once. It makes sure that each record is handled individually and correctly. When your automation receives a multiple number of lists such as hundreds of leads, records or email messages, this node ensures that each record is handled individually and correctly. And the one thing which is important, that the loop over item node should be placed right after the point where your automation receives multiple items. Just like here, it can be hundreds and thousands. In our case, these are 2 items. Then connect this node to the back of loop node, and then connect the loop node to the action you want to run for each individual item. Once those actions are complete, connect the last node back to the loop node, just like this. In this way, your workflow processes items one by one instead of all at once, making it more reliable and easier to control. And now I will execute this by placing manual trigger. Just like I will place this, and when I will click on execute workflow, you will see that it will process each item one by one. And the last one is wait node. Wait node is used when your workflow wants to pause before continuing. It can wait for a specific time or a set duration. This helps preventing API rate limits when execution is too much fast for external services and improves timing accuracy. Instead of running everything instantly, your automation runs exactly at the right moment. You can set the time here whatever you want and adjust if you want it in seconds, minutes, hours, or days. So this was the data processing and execution control category. And now the last but honestly most powerful category is external API and connectivity nodes. This category includes nodes like HTTP requests and webhooks. These are literally the backbone of real world automation because this is how N8N talks to websites, app, database, AI tools and almost everything on internet. Now from here, let's start with the HTTP request node. I'm not going to deep into HTTP theory in this video because I have already created a full dedicated video explaining HTTP from beginner to advanced, and I will also give you the link in the description. So about HTTP node, here's a simple idea that HTTP request node lets N8N send requests to any API and web services and then receive data back. You can use HTTP requests to call external APIs, send and receive data, trigger external systems, connect custom or internal services with N8N. Basically, if an app has an API, then HTTP node lets N8N connect to it even if there is no native integration available. So now let's talk about the structure of HTTP request node inside it. And the first one is method, which includes post, put, get, delete, and these are the methods that you will be using mostly in your upcoming automations. And this is the URL, which is the endpoint that you will hit. Basically, your HTTP request will hit that URL. And then these are authentication. If the API has some kind of security or privacy, then you will enter the credentials which are divided into predefined credentials type and generic credentials type. And then query parameters. Query parameters are the filters that will be added to your URL. I have explained everything in the video. And from here, the important one is body, that you will be sending along with your request. Basically, when you will be using some kind of method like post, then it's necessary that you will send some kind of body with your request that will hit that API, and the API will give some kind of response in N10. And in this example, I am using the Epify API that will hit the Epify and will return some kind of data. First, let me show you the body that I am sending along with the request, which is saying that you will search for doctors, accountants for the city of Bountiful, and the maximum searches will be 1. So this data will go along with the API and it will hit the Epify, and then it will return some data which you will see in the N10. So I'm going to execute this step and I will show you that here this is the run that the N10 is running. N10 is hitting this platform and it will send some kind of data to N10. So this is the role of HTTP request, which is creating some kind of connections between two platforms. So after some time that you will see I have received some kind of data which is the search of Epify. So I hope that you have understand the HTTP request overview. And now let's talk about the second beast in this category, the webhook node. A webhook works in opposite direction of HTTP request. Like instead of sending data out of N10, this node allows other apps to send data into N10. So when something happens outside like a form submission, a new lead occurs or event, it can instantly trigger your workflow. And when the data is received in N10, the workflow have to respond. And inside the webhook node, you will see powerful responses modes like here, respond immediately, as soon as this node executes, and when last node finishes, returns data of the last executed node. Using respond to webhook node, which is this, that you can respond by using this node like first incoming item, all incoming item, or a binary file or a JSON, and you can choose whatever you want. And now let's understand the webhook node with an example for better understanding. So first of all, I will just choose the method post and will copy its test URL. And I have a request to send and I will paste this test URL in this. So I have not copied the production URL because I am not in live phase. I am just testing the request. So I have pasted that URL here and I will click on listen for test event. And I will just click on test request and you will see in N10 that the data has been received here. And with that, you now understand the most powerful nodes in N10. If you master these nodes, you are not just building workflows, you are building systems. So if this video helped you, make sure to like, subscribe and turn on the notification for more automation, N10 and AI agents tutorial. Thanks guys.